Hey guys, what's going on? We got another Mythic Plus video as enhancement. We are doing a 13 Mechagon workshop, which is the first 13 that I have done for this season. And we are playing Totemic as per usual. And yeah, although I do have one thing to say is that workshop seems to be Blizzard's favorite dungeon. I'm not sure why. I mean, I don't particularly dislike it, but I definitely wouldn't say I prefer it over certain ones. I don't know. So I am curious to why Blizzard likes this dungeon so much, but it is what it is. Also, if you did notice, I do have a deck of cards. I don't remember the actual name of the trinket, but it's the mastery one off of the one-armed bandit. I just got it this week and this is the first time I'm actually using it in a dungeon. Uh, so the usage is not optimal, and I realized that throughout this entire dungeon is that you should be syncing it up with your primordial wave rather than syncing it up with your doom winds. So here I was holding it for my doom winds a lot where I should have just been using it with the primordial wave primordial storm combo. That way you're not wasting 30 seconds. But in the end, I mean, it does come down to what pool sizes and stuff. So if it does sync up with Doom Winds every once in a while, that's great. But ideally, you want to mix it with your Primordial Wave. Anyways, on to enhancement things. So far this season, enhancement has been a pretty powerful competitor in the DPS scenario. And honestly, it's been great. Both builds are performing extremely well, and honestly, I can't really complain. Although there are a few things that I do want Blizzard to change, they're more of a quality of life change rather than a damage change. But even then, there are a few things that I want changed in general for damage output, and that would be to see Stormbringer come back just a little bit higher as you've probably noticed, Totemic has taken over, and it's been taking over since probably halfway through 11.15 or point oh 0.05, sorry, which was the half patch and the total redesign of enhancement. Not necessarily the redesign, but the remaster of their talent tree. And we saw Totemic come forth with a Ascendant Storm build, not using half of the hero tree type of shenanigans. And that was fun. And it was fun. But now we're seeing Stormbringer lose its edge in most scenarios, where last season, probably the first half of the season, Stormbringer was the more powerful option for the most part. And then they added in the changes for point 0.5, and we saw Totemic take over. We saw some nerfs to certain things. And now with the nerf, not necessarily the nerf, but the buff to Lavalash and Stormstrike, we've kind of seen Totemic take over because Lavalash synchronizes with so many talents, making it super duper powerful, and it just seems to have a better fit. So I would like to see Blizzard buff Stormbringer in a sense, whether that is the actual cleave effect, buffing Lightning Bolt a bit more, or possibly changing the way it works in a way. Because right now, I personally do prefer Stormbringer because I like Ascendance. I really do enjoy playing with Ascendance. I think Ascendance is fun. I personally prefer Root of Elements, but it is what it is when it comes down to numbers. Root of Elements does not perform highly, so I would like to see that change to maybe increase it by 0.1%. So rather than a 0.6%, it's a 0.7 and see how that changes because they did remove the proc protection and that would maybe give it a bit more of an edge in the long run. But seeing Lightning Bolt possibly buffed or Storm Strike maybe just a little bit more, although those could kind of get out of hand, I feel like Stormbringer could use a bit more of an edge. But it's more of like the safe pick right now, I think, where it's much easier to play and much easier to get the hang of as well and kind of learn the basics of enhancement. And then Totemic kind of puts your knowledge to the test, giving you the more powerful option, but a bit more complex playstyle, but nowhere near complex as it used to be, thank God. The old Elementalist style is an absolute nightmare. If you never played it, you are one of the lucky ones. I completely disliked it. I did not like playing it at all. Even if it was the better one, I still typically played with the Storm version because I just didn't like the whole factor of the priority list changing every time you get a feral spirit out and all that sort of thing. It was definitely very, very frustrating. So seeing enhancement change into more of a simplified version is super, super good. And I think it actually it entices people to play it as an alt. Not only the fact that it is actually one of the more powerful specs right now, people have probably noticed that your power level has kind of dropped a bit, and I think that's because of the RNG factor with the tier set and stuff. But in the long run, you might not have the damage output of the other classes, but your utility and consistency is what really makes enhancement shine. You have such low cooldowns that your power just doesn't matter. Like, you should have a cooldown for every single pack in the dungeon, whether that's bosses or rotating the pack to pack. You always have a cooldown, whether that's Primordial Wave or your Primordial Wave Doomwings, because they're 30 seconds to a minute. It just honestly, it's felt great. And the same goes with Storm. Although I would prefer to play with Root of Elements, you still have that 2-minute ascendance with Doom Winds, and you still feel very, very powerful. Although Stormbringer does take a little bit longer to ramp up, unlike Totemic where it's full frontal explosion, Stormbringer has more of a time to ramp up because you have to build up those Tempests, and that's where a lot of your damage comes from. And then you combo that with a bunch of Chain Lightnings and stuff, and it definitely shines much brighter in certain scenarios. But what the issue is right now is that Stormbringer just doesn't have the power that Totemic does. And I think one could be due to the fact that they nerfed Awakening Storms. And if you don't remember, it used to be 3 procs of Awakening Storms. Now it's 4. If they brought that back down to 3, we could actually see Stormbringer pull numbers even further. But again, it's hard to say. I don't know how these guys number crunch and everything like that, but that's the thing I'd like to see because I really do prefer Storm, but I do know a lot of people are really enjoying this Lavalash build, and I do too. I really do. But I really like Ascendance. Ever since Ascendance came out in Mists of Pandaria, it's just been something that's just stuck with me. I've always loved it as a button, and it's always felt good to press. And when I believe they took it away at one point, and made it only Root of Elements. That might have been Legion, I don't remember. But at one point they didn't have Ascendance anymore. It was just I think it was just a proc rate, and that was like super sad and stuff. So but now we have Ascendance back, we have the power, we have Tempest, and it works really well with Stormbringer, right? The only downside is that Tempest really affects the way Ascendance works, and it's super frustrating at times. And I'm sure people that have played it have noticed that if Tempest cleaves onto anything, it changes your ability queue up from Lightning Bolt to Chain Lightning. And when you're fighting 2 targets, it is actually more effective to Lightning Bolt than it is to Chain Lightning the 2. And that's one of the things that's kind of annoying is you don't really have an option to change that when you are mid ascendance because you do want to prioritize those wind strikes. So it is what it is, but I would like to see them modify that in a way to where Tempest doesn't actually affect your queued up spell, but no matter what, it should auto cast either Tempest, whether you have Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt, or not auto cast either way. Like, I think that would be great. I think that would be a great change because it is definitely frustrating if you just this small ad shows up and you cleave it and you're mid ascendant and now you got to change from chain lightning to lightning bolt. That's super, super annoying. And majority of the time, it is better to Tempest at 10 stacks than it is to Wind Strike 5 stack Tempest, but the difference isn't all that much, and actually, I think as of late with the changes to Storm Strike, it's actually more beneficial to Wind Strike because you get that Storm Fury or Storm Flurry chance, as well as the regen Maelstrom. But I'm not sure on the entirety of the numbers, but anyways, those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts. Please let me know what you guys think on the state of Enhance and how fun it is. I like again,
Your
I
survival
I
wasn't
don't
necessary.
hate Enhance at all. I really am enjoying it this season. There is nothing that I really would say is terrible about it other than like just the ascendance factor and stuff like that. And I know we are one of the lucky classes where we have two working hero talents for that are extremely competitive either way. So I can't really complain too much on that. But again, those are my thoughts, and that's what I am hoping to change. Also, if we can get rid of our imbuements and just make them passive, that'd be great too. Because honestly, it is annoying having these things. And especially in like Dragonflight, when they first brought them back, they were buggy. And when you started dungeons or an arena, they actually weren't working, so you had to reapply them and stuff like that. It's really annoying, really annoying. But anyways, guys, that is going to be it for my commentary. Please let me know your thoughts on enhancement and how actually your season has been going, because this has been a whole lot of fun for me. I've been enjoying every single moment since this season has started. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Anyways, please enjoy the rest of the video, and I hope you've enjoyed up to this part 2. And thank you very much for watching. Laters!
The invaders have made it past the outer defenses. I want their stench removed from my city.
I have activated all civic defenses, my king. Rest assured, these organisms will be expunged from our metropolis.
Warning. Excessive levels. Warning. Excessive levels of flesh detected. Warning. Warning. Excessive levels of flesh detected. Warning. I'm impressed you made it this far.
You are no longer my father. Just a malfunctioning machine that must be shut down.
Poor child. If only you could accept the truth. The curse of flesh has run rampant across Azeroth, and I will replace it with mechanical purity. Witness! You cannot elude my targeting system.
Only the strongest survive.
You cannot elude my targeting system. Activating Buster! You cannot elude my targeting system.
mech originator.